Warning! This video is for adults. That said, welcome to or welcome back to Auntie's Cakery. Starting with a sheet pan of vanilla cake, I have a template here that I drew of the torso I'm going to be cutting. Right now I'm just going to cut the outside shape. Large shoulders, thin waist, curving down to his thigh. As you can see, I have some chocolate buttercream in between the two layers. These pieces I'm going to save for later and let my kids eat them. Yum! Now for the other side, chop that off as well. And for the shape of the shoulders, of course these first few cuts are only for the general shape of the body. Now with a knife, I'm just going to cut where the center of the abs will be. I'm going to be cutting that little divot out. I'm also marking where the six-pack will be here. And where the pectoral muscle is right here. Unfold the paper and mark the other side too. Also where the thigh line is going to be. And the clavicle. Folding the paper like that makes it so much easier to be symmetrical. Now I'm going to contour the cake with a paring knife. I'm just going to make all sorts of curves. So this cake has a very interesting backstory. I have an aunt who was diagnosed with cancer, and for her birthday, her daughter came to me, my cousin, and asked me to make this cake for her. Now the reason she chose this particular design is because my aunt made for my uncle a female torso cake using the little Hostess snowballs as the upper body. And she thought that one day she would make herself a man torso for one of her birthdays. Of course, time went on and she never did make one for herself, but my cousin remembered that she had always wanted one. So she came to me last year and asked me to make this special male torso cake. And keep looking till the end because there is a very special surprise on this big hunk of a man. Now as you can see, I've started to contour the inner parts of the body, including the pectorals and the abs. And I sped up the video because it really does take a long time to carve out this intricate detail. But in the end, it's going to look so good. I'm almost finished cutting out the top part of this body, and then I will start on the lower portion. Now it's time to shape and contour his legs. Wouldn't it be nice if it was this easy to contour our own bodies? I think it would be. So here I am just making the shapes of the legs a little more round, a little more masculine. Sneaking in that last ab. I'll make these little lines where the swimsuit is going to be. And just fine detail it until it looks the way I want it to look. And there's really not much more explaining to do as I carve, so I'm just going to turn on some music and let you enjoy until the next step. I wanted to buff up his chest just a little bit, so I'm adding some pieces of cake that I took off the sides, and then I'll contour those onto the pectoral muscles just to make him a little bigger, more buff, you know, like a swimsuit model would have. Next, I will crumb coat the whole torso. I'm going to try to get this chocolate buttercream into all the little nooks and crannies. Now that he's all covered, it is off to the refrigerator. About 20 minutes later, and then I'll put another coat of buttercream on. And I'm not going to coat the whole thing because I don't want this icing to get too cold before I smooth it out. And I'm using just a piece of a plastic mylar folder to smooth these parts. I'll do the same thing with the abs. The thing about this little plastic folder is I can fold it and mold it to the shape I want it to be. I put them in the fridge again and I added just a few more bits of buttercream to define those shapes a little bit more. And after that, I rolled out some fondant and laid it on top. And I'm going to use my hands just to fold that into all the little crevices. And now you really see the shapes come to life. With just cake, it kind of looks weird, but after you put the fondant on it, it looks a lot more realistic. Smoothing all these down. Woo! Rubbing that body with my fingers like there's no tomorrow. Once I have it all covered, I'm going to cut off the excess. Then it's time for some tanning. In my airbrush, I have some brown food color. And with it, I'm just defining his features a little more. I'll do it in his legs here, and around his torso, and in between his six-pack, then a little bit around the edges. Let's poke my little paintbrush in there for his belly button. I'll move it around the outside a little bit to make it look more realistic. Put a little dark dot in there. Oh, I sprayed too much on the outside. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Now I didn't show you, but with some darker fondant, I made some little nipples. And then here's the surprise! Twinkies! This is just what my aunt wanted. Since she used the snowballs for her husband's cake, she wanted a Twinkie for her own cake. So I'm using one of the Twinkies down below and the other Twinkie up on top. Then I'm going to make the bathing suit. Rolling out some red fondant, getting my template and cutting it out. And I'm going to lay that right on top of those Twinkies. Make sure it's in the right place, of course. You gotta cover that tip, don't want it showing. There we go, stretch it around. And then like I did with the skin fondant, I'll just mold it to the shape. And cut off the excess. I'm laughing at myself. Oh, this was such a funny cake. Here I have my little fondant tool, and I'm making a line in the bathing suit, as if that's where the elastic band would be. And I'll do it along the top and along the leg holes. Next comes the bow tie. Because what is a handsome man without a bow tie? As Doctor Who would say, bow ties are cool. This unique shape is going to be for the bow part of the tie. And then I'm going to take a ruler and make the straight part of the tie, like the collar part. And you'll see how I put that on cake in just a minute. A little water. I'm going to wrap these ends around until they connect. And shape it with my fingers just a bit. Take some of this strip, fold it a couple times to make it look realistic, like fabric. And then I'll wrap it around the center of that bow. And And of course I nitpick it till I have it just the right shape. A little water to stick it onto the top of his chest here. And then I'll wrap those bands around, giving the illusion of a collar. Just so that bow didn't flatten out, I stuck some paper towel rolls in between so they can dry a little bit and keep its shape while I start to wrap a sheet around his body. It adds to the effect and also covers the cake board. Cut off the rest of that fondant and he's almost ready to serve. If you liked this video, you might also like this Wonder Woman torso I have on the screen, or these special cookies. Thanks for watching. Bye!